You are listening to PastThink.com audiobook. Please like and subscribe, thank you. Chapter 57. Zhou Yu dies, and Kong Ming comes to mourn him. Pang Tong is shunted off to govern at Luoyang. As Zhou Yu is carried to his ship, insult is added to injury, when it is reported to him that Xuanda and Kong Ming have watched the whole affair from a nearby hill, where they were seen drinking and laughing. Despite a last-minute attempt by Sun Quan's brother Sun Yu to continue the expedition, it comes to nothing, blocked as they are by Xuanda's troops. Not long after, Zhou Yu receives a letter from Kong Ming. In it he sternly reprimands Zhou Yu for his foolish plans. For the danger he has put his own men in, and the real risk that, if Zhou Yu did go off to conquer the western riverlands, Cao Cao would use the opportunity to invade and destroy Wu. I do wish, finishes the letter, that you would be so kind as to pay attention to what I am saying and the real dangers you face. This all proves too much for Zhou Yu. Knowing he is dying, he writes a final letter to Sun Quan. Then, looking up to heaven, he says, "Having made me, why did you have to make Kong Ming?" And with that he dies. He is only 36 years old. The Battle of Red Cliffs made him famous. Even in his youth he was renowned. His singing made manifest his integrity. Partying, he thanked his many friends. Through courtesy he secured food for his men. 100,000 men were at his command. Baekje was where fate overtook him. With what sorrow is he still mourned. When the news reaches Sun Quan he weeps openly. Zhou Yu's final letter urges him to offer the post of Supreme Commander to Lu Su, for Lu Su is a man of utmost loyalty, thorough in his planning and worthy to take my place, wrote Zhou Yu. And so Lu Su is appointed. Far away, Kong Ming sees in the night sky a general star fall to earth, and knows that Zhou Yu has died. He also sees that there is a congregation of stars signifying that many skilled men are gathering in the east, and so he sets off to join them, pretending he is coming to pay his respects to Zhou Yu's coffin. Taking Zhao Zilong and 500 warriors with him, he is able to fend off any plots to kill him, and instead finds himself eventually kneeling before Zhou Yu's coffin. There he pours forth a quite extraordinary eulogy. "I'm heartbroken," he says, "when I recall your youth. You were a man of virtue, and you soared upon wings like a rock. I recall when you befriended Sun Tzu. I wonder at how you created the state of Wu. I remember your triumphs over Liu Biao and your unfaltering support for Sun Quan. And what of your marriage to Lady Qiao? How happy you were. You will always be honored for your stance against the demands of Cao Cao." He speaks of what a capable man he was and declares his grief at a life cut short after only 36 years, recalling our fight side by side against Cao Cao. Sadly, he concludes, "The living and the dead cannot meet. But your fame will live forever." Everyone is frankly astonished. And even Lu Su has to note that Kong Ming seems a bigger person than Zhou Yu ever was. But as Kong Ming is preparing to board his ship to travel home, someone comes up dressed in the disheveled clothes of a Taoist and says bluntly, "You literally drove Zhou Yu to his death. And now you've the cheek to come here and pretend you're a mourner. This is nothing less than an insult to Wu. As if you were telling them there is no one with any talent left here at all." Initially he is somewhat shocked, but his anxiety soon turns to delight when he sees it is none other than his old friend Pang Tong, young Phoenix. They talk together for a while, and then Kong Ming gives him a letter he has written and says that if he finds his skills unappreciated here, he is to come to Xuanda and offer his services. Now after Zhou Yu has been buried, Lu Su comes to see Sun Quan, and says that he is not worthy of the new appointment, but he knows of one who is. Zhou Yu listened to him, as did Kong Ming, he says. So it is that Pang Tong, for it is he, is invited to the palace. However, Sun Quan is really put off by his appearance, and, when he seems to make a rather dismissive comment about the late Zhou Yu, Sun Quan's heart is set against him. Dismissed, he wanders off, but Lu Su catches up with him and asks what his plans are now. "I will go and join Cao Cao," he says, to which Lu Su reacts with horror, and suggests that he really should join Xuanda, and gives him a letter of recommendation. So Pang Tong arrives at the court of Xuanda. But Kong Ming is away and not able to make the introductions. Xuanda also finds Pang Tong's appearance and manner off-putting. As a result, he only offers him a very minor post as magistrate in a country town called Leiyang, miles away from the city. Deeply annoyed by this, Pang Tong almost rejects it out of hand, but he realizes that, without Kong Ming being there to speak for him, this is all he can expect at the moment, so he takes the post. It is not long before stories begin to circulate about the fact that he does no work whatsoever, and is essentially drunk most of the time. Furious at this further indication of this man's offhand manner, Xuanda sends Zhang Fei to investigate, along with Sun Qian, to ensure Zhang Fei doesn't go off the deep end. The pair arrive and ask where the magistrate is, only to be told that he is sleeping off a very drunken night before. Zhang Fei is furious at this, and is all for dragging the man out of bed, but Sun Qian reminds him that this is no ordinary man, and they should wait. Their patience is rewarded, well sort of, when a little while later a disheveled and clearly hungover Pang Tong strolls in. "You were given responsibilities by my brother," says Zhang Fei, "and you've treated them with nothing less than wanton neglect." "What precisely," answers Pang Tong, "have I neglected?" "Why, you've been here for 100 days and have done nothing but get drunk. How can you possibly govern in that state?" "To be honest," replies Pang Tong, "this is a very small place with not much going on, and even that requires very little action. However, wait here, and I'll deal with that." All the cases that have piled up during his 100 days are brought before him, supplicants, defendants, and so forth. Within the space of half a day he not only deals with them all, but does so to the outright approval of all. Even Zhang Fei has to admit he is impressed. Only then, to Zhang Fei's astonishment, does Pang Tong bring out the letter of recommendation from Lu Su. Returning to Xuanda, they report on what has happened and show the letter from Lu Su. Xuanda begins to realize that his judging by appearances has very nearly lost him a great man. When Kong Ming returns from his travels he asks what high position Xuanda has given to Pang Tong, and a shamefaced Xuanda has to confess his mistake. But Kong Ming smiles and asks if Pang Tong has shown them the letter he, Kong Ming, wrote. Again, surprise all around that Pang Tong has not used this to gain favor. And so it is that Pang Tong is brought back to Jingzhou, and is made Kong Ming's assistant. He is given a high military role, and the two of them start to work side by side preparing for the next battle against the north. Back in the capital, this information reaches Cao Cao, in particular news of their planned joint attack on the north. Cao Cao starts to plot his attack first, but is deeply worried that the tribal leader Ma Ting from the remote western regions might use the opportunity of their being deep down south to attack. It is suggested that if he were to offer Ma Ting a formal title, and ask for his help in attacking the south, this might lure him to come to the capital, and then they could kill him, and thus curtail this risk. But Ma Ting is no fool. He knows when the invitation and offer come that this could well be a trap. Taking his eldest son Ma Chao on one side, he orders him to hold their home base. He also tells him that once he was part of a plot to bring about the death of Cao Cao. This was, of course, the infamous secret message in the Belt Conspiracy. That plot failed, says Ma Ting, and now I am summoned by Cao Cao. What do you think I should do? His son says, you have to go because Cao Cao controls the emperor, and to refuse could mean you are charged with treason. Take this advantage and see if as a result you can finally achieve your long-held desire to get rid of Cao Cao. So he comes to the capital, but brings with him 5,000 tribal warriors as protection. Cao Cao commands one of his officials by the name of Huang Kui to oversee his arrival and comfort, but with instructions that he must reduce his own army as Cao Cao will supply him with his own men, and there is not enough food for all of them at the moment. When Huang Kui and Ma Ting have drunk deeply, Huang Kui inadvertently blurts out his hatred of Cao Cao for having usurped the imperial prerogatives. Although Ma Ting is at first suspicious, and will not confess his hatred of the man as well, Huang Kui goes on to mention the plot involving the secret message hidden in the belt. With this Ma Ting knows he really means what he says, and together they plot to murder Cao Cao. It is agreed that they will lure Cao Cao out of the city to inspect the troops, and then Ma Teng will kill him. And this might have worked. But that night Huang Kui returns very disturbed and agitated. Unable to tell his wife about the assassination plot, he does confide in his concubine Li Chuanxiang. However, she is having an affair with his own brother-in-law, Miao Zhe, who desperately wants her for himself and would, as it turns out, do anything to have her. She tells Miao Zhe about this plot, and he suddenly sees a way to get rid of his brother-in-law and have Li Chuanxiang for himself. He goes immediately and tells Cao Cao, who accordingly summons his commanders and lays a counterplot. The next morning Ma Teng and his sons and troops parade before the city walls, and out of the gate come a collection of banners. Thinking this is where Cao Cao is, Ma Teng and his sons charge at them, only for the banners to part and archers and crossbowmen to start firing. Trying to flee, they turn to find Cao Cao's men attacking them from all sides. One son dies there and then defending his father, and the other son and Ma Teng, seriously wounded, are captured. Together with Huang Kui, they are brought as prisoners before Cao Cao. Ma Teng and his son are immediately condemned to death and taken out and executed. Then Miao Zhe sidles up to Cao Cao and in a self-effacing way says, "All I want as my reward is to marry Li Chuanxiang. No need for anything more." Laughing out loud, Cao Cao speaks, "For the sake of gaining a woman you have brought down destruction on your brother-in-law. Such a person doesn't deserve to live." And he gives orders that Miao Zhe, Li Chuanxiang, and Huang Kui along with his entire family are to be executed in public. Those who watch are moved by this tale of treachery, and a poet has said, "Lust-led, Miao Zhe damns a good man. Nothing gained, she dies too. The one they helped is pitiless, while this petty man's actions gain him nothing but death." After this, Cao Cao moves forward with his plans with even more determination. Then news comes that Xuanda is planning to invade the western riverlands of Shu. This alarms Cao Cao, as it could mean that Xuanda's territory would expand hugely, and he would be unable to be contained. At this point there comes forward someone who claims he can break the alliance between Sun and Xuanda, thereby helping Cao Cao to seize all the lands. And who exactly is this? Let's find out.